Hey, what is up guys? GuitarRock here. Welcome back to another Honkai Star Rail video. If you guys are not aware, earlier today they released the character preview for Kafka alongside with her Litecoin. And also they announced a new edition of a web event that you can participate right now called Code Action. I'll leave the link to it in the description below. So overall a pretty good web event to basically try to earn yourself some extra Stellar Jades. With that being said, let's compare Kafka and see if there's any changes to her CBT version, the closed beta version versus the currently pre-launch version. By the way, they did mention that the trailer for Kafka is delayed. They are going to release it on 8th of August. So that's going to be in a couple of days. So hopefully by then we'll have a very exciting trailer to look forward to. Let's jump into it. Alright, first things first, let's look at the part 2 or volume 2 event overview. What are we getting besides Kafka, right? So we'll have the warp for Nessun Dorma, so that's going to include Kafka. And then there's 3 4-stars, Luca, Sampo, and Serval. By the way, Luca is a new character exclusively. This is going to be his first appearance in this banner right here. So very excited for him as well. Alongside with that, we have the Kafka, Litecoin, and you can see it's going to feature 3 other Litecoins, Herta's Litecoin, that's going to be Sampo's one, and also Luca's 4-star Litecoins as well. And then we'll have a new event, Underground Treasure Hunt, that's going to start on 9th of August. Alright, so that's going to be of a later time. You have a chance to obtain the self-modeling resin right here. 1000 Stellar Jades. Wow, that's a lot right there. And then companion mission, Letter from a Strange Woman. So this is going to give you another 100 Stellar Jades. And of course, one last event that's happening on 19th of August. Oh, no Stellar Jades right here, but Caverns of Corrosion. You will basically get double the rewards from the following stages. Alright, let's have a look at Kafka's skills. What do we have for Kafka per se? Just a recap, she's going to be a 5-star lightning type Path of Nihility. So make sure you guys are farming that, not to be confused with any other path. And alongside with that, let's have a look at the trace. So this is going to be a very big thing moving forward. I believe they did slightly switch up her traces. Now let's try and look at here. First things first, Plunder. You can see when enemy inflicted with shock is defeated, Kafka regenerates additional energy. This is always going to be good, alright? So that means that if you can apply DOT consistently and if the enemy goes down, that means your Kafka will be able to get energy. So right now you can see this is 5 energy based on the CBT. So I'm pretty sure the numbers again can be tweaked. So take it with a grain of salt. Now next up is the Thorns. Now Thorns here, the base chance for ultimate, technique or the follow-up attack triggered by the talent to inflict shock is increased. Alright, is it still the same based on that? Yes. So you can see 20% increased base chance to increase DOT that the enemies receive. So ultimate has a 20% increased base chance to shock enemies. So hopefully the percentage is not going to be modified too much. But what has changed thus far for Kafka is going to be on this particular trace called the Torture. So during the CBT, when DOTs immediately deal damage to enemies due to Kafka's skill or ultimate, their damage multiplier is proportionally increased. Alright, so there's that. The increased proportion is going to be equal to 15% of Kafka's break effect up to a max of 30%. So you can see this is going to be very dependent on her break effect, alright, and it's going to improve upon Kafka's overall kit. But right now, they have since switched it up to when the ultimate is used, enemy targets will immediately receive damage from all currently applied DOT sources, instead of just receiving damage immediately from the currently applied shock stat. That means now Kafka has much more of a synergy to whoever is in the team that can apply DOT. It doesn't have to be a shock, right? If you use Sampo, it can be Windsure. If you use Hook, for example, it can be Burn, which I do think this is a buff personally, because before this you sort of have to like build Kafka a little bit of break effect so that this talent is going to be improved based upon that, right? It scales off that pretty much. But now you don't have to worry about that anymore. It seems like she's going to be much more of a team synergy or team enabler, a DOT enabler for the rest of the team, right? So if you have like Luca, Sampo, Serval, whoever that's in the team, that means all the DOT sources that you are able to accumulate is going to straight up reapply to the enemy. I do like this personally. I think this is going to be very good. This is going to occur every time Kafka uses her ultimate. Now, there's a couple of things that you guys need to remember, alright? So number one, you might need Kafka to be the slowest one in your team for this to basically take full effect, right? You want everyone else, your Serval, your Luca, your Sampu, you want all of them to be faster than Kafka so that they go first and they apply DOT first. And then Kafka moves last. Even if she goes first, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Just make sure to use her ultimate or delay her ultimate a little bit, because that's when you're gonna, be able to take full effect of this particular trace. Alright, so Kafka's technique attacks the enemy after entering battle, deals lightning damage equal to 50%. Yeah, pretty much the same, right? They didn't change the technique. All enemies have a chance to receive the same shock effect as the one from Kafka's ultimate, and this can last several turns. It seems to be the case here, right? Oh, that's actually new. So it scales off her ultimate, which is the better version of the shock, right? Because her ultimate has a very high multiplier of DOT. So that's pretty good. So this is going to be a slight buff in my humble opinion. That's pretty good based on what I can see. Next up, basic attack. Deals lightning damage to a single enemy. No changes here whatsoever. You can go up to level 10, right? Level 9. Alright, the talent, after somebody uses basic attack, Kafka will also launch with a follow-up attack and deals lightning damage. This can only trigger once per turn, alright? Seems to be the same for the talent. Now as for Kafka's skill, she will deal lightning damage to the target, and then the adjacent will receive slightly less multiplier. So yeah, you can see it seems to be the same. Again, the synergy here is going to be similar with how her traces work. So ideally you want her to move later because of this particular skill as well, so that she can take full effect. When enemies already have DOT applied on them, they receive additional damage equal to a certain percentage of the current active DOT after Kafka used the skill. So you want Kafka to basically move last if possible. Now the ultimate deals lightning damage equal to 80% of Kafka's attack to all enemies. 100% chance for enemies to hit to become shock and take damage equal to 100% of the DOT. So the shock is going to last for 2 turns, while shock enemies receive lightning DOT equal to 299% of Kafka's attack at the beginning of each turn. So this is where Kafka is going to be very reliant on her attack stat. I do think that scaling off attack basically is going to make her a monster. So if you build Kafka with attack percent, so that means you are able to increase her DOT from the ultimate per se. Now is this going to be better than crit rate percent or crit damage percent? That depends, right? If your focus is just DOT specifically, then I would say yes, this is going to increase amount of DOT that she's able to do. So far everything seems to be in line with what we have seen from the CBT. There were a few minor tweaks here and there, but the minor tweak seems to be a bonus, alright, like a buff rather than a nerf. But again, they don't really reveal the eidolons right here, which we can't have a look at. So that's something that we'll have to wait for the official release to have a look at the eidolons if there's anything that changed from that particular part. Okay, let's look at the light cone then. So Kafka's light cone is going to come with 3 other light cones, as you can see. Number 1, we're going to have the Birth of the Self. This is Herta's light cone. That's going to be a very good light cone for her. And then we have the Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat. That's going to be for Luca. Luca is in the picture right there. Sampo's light cone, again, best in slot for Sampo for sure. Increased effect hit rate, increased DOT as well. If you want to use this on Kafka, you can as well. And then last but not least, Kafka's light cone. So what has changed ever since? You can see the damage dealt 24% is still the same, and then the increased speed by 4.8% stacks out to 3 times. It's still the same, right? However, there is a 100% base chance to inflict erode on the target. Now enemies afflicted with erode are also considered to be shocked and will receive lightning DOT at the start of each turn equal to 60% of the wearer's attack, lasting for a turn. So that seems to be an added effect, right? Before this is just 100% base chance of causing the attack enemy to take 60% additional DOT. I do think this is overall a very good light cone, because anything that improves the wearer's speed, alright, increased by 4.8% stacks up to 3 times, ideally is something that's quite rare. You don't really find speed increase that often, alright? Even on like substats, it's quite hard to come by, and the only consistent way is to get it from boots, right? But again, You might screw your synergy up if your Kafka has higher speed than the rest of the team. So because like I mentioned, you ideally want your Kafka to be slower than the rest of the team members if you're running a DOT team, so that they inflict DOT first and Kafka last. Which means that if you're using this particular Litecoin, you have to take that into consideration and pre-calculate that in advance. So that's going to make your team building much more finicky actually. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Overall, it does feel like it's going to be way harder to build your Kafka compared to just using any other Litecoin. I might consider just giving her either Eyes of the Prey. Now, I do think that the Fermata is going to be a pretty decent option. If you are looking for like a free-to-play Litecoin, Break Effect is cool, but the main thing is increased damage to enemies afflicted with Shock or Wind Shear by 16%, and this also applies to the DOT. So that means you are going to be able to consistently do 16% damage. 16% more damage on your skills, alright? And if you have multiple copies of this, it goes up to 32%, and that's already a very, very good damage bonus right there. That applies to all your skills and your DOTs as well. So highly recommend this particular one if you have this particular one. Alright, so with that being said, that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of Kafka coming in a couple of days. Are you guys excited? Are you guys pulling for her? Are you guys skipping? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, subscribe if you guys haven't already. Give this video a like. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.